6. Command Toga, SRS runway, auto thrust is blue. 80 knots, thrust set. 5500. 31. Rotate.
Hello, hello. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to not another Magenta Line stream. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. As we can see, the sun just now is getting ready to eclipse the ramp. Looks like there's it's right behind that airplane there. Let me turn the sounds back on. Looks like I got a couple of pistons here with their engines running, so I have the sounds muted. Digital Merc, your favorite bird by far. Oh boy, we got a lot to talk about on this milviz. Every time I say milviz, you got to hit the like button. Blackbird Cessna 310R. Now, formerly milviz. I actually used the milviz 310 back in the FSX days when that first dropped. But they have since come a long way. They brought that airplane over to Microsoft 2020. We've got a name change to Blackbird, milviz, same company though, essentially. And a pretty sweet airplane. So the 414 better, but the 310 is cool too? Heck nah, Chris. I think the 310 takes the cake over the 414, most definitely. Not only in flight dynamics, but in wear and tear and how the failures are simulated and modeled within this airplane. When you develop a piston aircraft, you gotta have your user have a reason to treat it properly. If you don't have a reason for your user to treat the airplane properly, you might as well fly a Magenta Line Airbus. So, no, that's just my opinion. But either way, they're both good airplanes. Today's gonna be fun, y'all. Napalm, good to see you. Joe Plains Tower at Ray. Chris Strobel's in the house. Stratocast. Captain Will, good to see you, man. Charlie Romeo in the house as well. Tim K. McAllen is here. Jacob M. Ha, JP Harris, Zach Lewine, Victor Silva, Tyson, Ken Lawrence, and many, many more. All right, y'all, welcome in, welcome in. Let me get rid of this message. Let me unpin that. We don't need the root up there. This is going to be a fun one. So we are sitting on the ramp here in Flagstaff, Arizona. Oh, look, we can see the sun peaking. Hold on, let's take a moment. The sun is peeking over the trees. I wound the time back 2 hours just because I didn't want to fly at 11 o'clock midday for this. But the sunrise here is going to be absolute juice as we depart Flagstaff, head northbound up to Bryce Canyon. I did pick up the little Orbix scenery for Bryce Canyon, so that will be sweet flying in there. It's a beautiful day for flying. It's a little bit gusty, so the old Brunner force feedback yoke is going to be working hard, but we're going to talk all things 310 piston. Now, I did fly, as you saw in the thumbnail. I do have some time in a Cessna 310. This is obviously not a Cessna 310, so let's go around here. This is not a 310, so let's go ahead and walk to our player plane. Make sure you stay clear of the propellers. I think that's a 310 over there. That looks like a juicy 310. So as we walk over to this 310, Arizona is great for trips. Yeah, Sim Famous, it is. It is. This particular flight I've actually done in real life. It's very scenic. Used to take students up here on cross-country flying, but back to my 310 experience. Basically, I have less than 100 hours in a 310. I think I have like 88 or something like that hours in a Cessna 310. A good friend of mine, or a friend of my father's really initially, and then became a friend of mine. He owned a Cessna 310, and when he... I guess he got a little bit older and he didn't fly it as much. He needed someone to maintain it. And then once it was time to sell the aircraft, then I was basically the tour guide salesman for the Cessna 310. So I'd take him up. It was actually based out of, not Scottsdale. There's another field north of Scottsdale up there in the creek. I can't remember the name of it. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, cool little bird. I flew this airplane, a Cessna 310, from Arizona all the way to San Diego for Fleet Week. The gentleman that owned it was a former naval aviator, so we'd go to Fleet Week in San Diego, and I'd fly it out there with him, just kind of keep eyes on him. But yeah, it was a good bird to fly. It basically, if you want to know how the Cessna 310 flies in real life, picture a FedEx truck, or how about a UPS truck? Not quite a semi-truck, but you know those short UPS trucks? That's not a trailer, it's just a big UPS truck. Picture that and put little teeny tiny Hershey bar wings on that. That's how the airplane handles. So it's very stiff and blocky and takeoff and landing, but in flight, in normal cruise and normal maneuvers, it's actually a very, very stable airplane, and it flies. I would say it's one of Cessna's most Piper-esque airplanes. You know, the Piper, traditionally very heavy on the controls, very stable in flight. 310 is very similar to that, at least in my experience. The one I flew, the 310, very stable, very easy to trim out, hand flies like a dream. You start doing stalls and single engine VMC demos, though, then it gets a little bit squirrely, especially depending on your CG and how the tip tanks are loaded, etc. We may do an in-flight demonstration, shut one down in flight, and then do a windmill start back up. We might do that. We'll see if I can remember the procedure. I don't have my checklist with me. It's been over a decade since I've been in a Cessna 310, so I'm sure I'm going to do a lot of things wrong, but we'll still get her A to B. Team Vodka says you're not showing up as a 310 on Iveo? Really? What am I showing up as? Well, I should be showing up as a 310. I'm curious what I'm showing up as, Team Vodka. Your uncle owned one out of Pensacola. Awesome, man. Yeah, like the minivan UPS. There you go. Donald Leddit, good to see you, man. I saw you over on that Bassmaster Live, my man. Dude, let me know if I miss anything good, and I'll have to break from the stream. I'll have to check it out. But, yeah, man, Bassmaster Live on Toledo Bend. Spin recovery. No thrust set. You cannot spin this airplane. Well, you can spin this airplane, but this airplane is not approved for spins. So you don't want to spin it if you can help it. It can be almost unrecoverable, like I said, depending on how the aircraft is loaded. So it is a no-joke airplane, especially when you start getting into the abnormal regimes. But as far as just operating a twin piston, we'll get into that a little bit more here after we get things fired up. I'll tell you, why would somebody want a Cessna 310 as opposed to a Piper Arrow, etc. So we'll get into all that stuff, because with 2 engines comes twice the responsibility. And we're going to talk about that in great detail on this flight. But until then, let's just do a quick little pre-flight. So we've got an intake. We've got our pitot covers here. Everything's tabbed up, so we'll come along here. Beautiful model, obviously. If this is your little stall warning, you can lift that up if the battery power's on. It'll stall. Here we've got our landing lights. You can actually feel these puppies come down in flight when you extend them. It does help slow you down just a tad, kind of like mini speed brakes. Got our wing lockers here. Depends on who you ask. Some guys load up the wing locker, some guys don't. Just make sure you close and lock the wing locker. You don't want wing lockers flying off. Oh, look at that shot right there. That's cool. So today we're operating, this is a little livery I made by myself. Is basically we're going to pretend we're flying an Ameriflight charter operation. We're going to take a couple of passengers over the Grand Canyon corridor and up to Bryce Canyon. But got the Ameriflight 3 Bravo Tango on there. Real number. Man, what a beautiful, beautiful picture that is right there. Saw someone landing a 310 in Indian, New Jersey. Went to the grass like a lawnmower. Uh-oh. Coming around the backside, making sure everything is good. You lift up your stab or your elevator here, make sure everything was free and correct. Same as like on the Aero. Here's your little landing gear step. Comes down with a landing gear. Basically your little step ladder to get in the airplane. Here's where we're going to throw all of our main bags. Another tipped or a nacelle compartment. Come around here, make sure the lights are in good working order. Absolutely love the modeling on this airplane. Milviz knocked it out of the park. Some vortex generators up there. And, of course, we got our little flag right here. If that flag is right there, that means you have to plug inside, and you're not supposed to start the engine with the plugs in. If you do that, you're going to have issues. Yes, you can start it with the plug in, and yes, you will have issues. I feel like everybody who's flown a 310 long enough, or everybody who manages their own airplane, eventually will have issues. Now, here's something interesting. My 310 views are all off. And I think this is because I re-updated updated the 310 before the stream, and everything is off now. So did they change the view sets in this airplane with the latest update? Because my old update had the milviz logo still. So that's how long my old version was. I'm just resetting some views here, and we'll do the cowl flaps, and we'll do that view right there. So now we should be reset. Good. All right. Here we go. Let's go ahead and pull off the engine covers, intake covers, pitot covers, wheel chocks, control lock. We'll remove all that. Let's take someone in the front right. We'll take someone in the rear left. And then we will get the nose baggage out, and actually let's do this. Let's do nose baggage and a rear baggage. And now what is you have to be careful, because when you load up like that you're actually, those options have weights associated with them. Right now, max takeoff 5,500 pounds, and our current weight is 4,525. So make sure you're below weight. As far as fuel is concerned on this one, I didn't run proper fuel numbers. I think we're gonna go, I think we're going to juice these up. Let's take, because I want to fly faster. So let's go ahead and take 30 gallons, just about, in the mains, like so. I just got just a few gallons there, just floating around in the aux tip tanks. All right, so that puts us at 47. We're still about 700 pounds under max. That looks good. Now, this is where I start to say the Dougal, better flight model than the 414? No, I didn't say better flight model. I said the flight models are pretty on par. However, what I will say, this is why this airplane is better than the 414. We'll get into that right now, in my opinion. Okay, first and foremost, the wash and detail. This thing is really cool. So I'm going to actually make this go rapid, because I just re-updated my airplane. But the more you fly the airplane, the more grime and dirt will accumulate on the surface of the aircraft until you clean it, which is just a small but cool little feature that you can configure, especially if you run this airplane in the owner's mode here. So you own it. How you leave it is how you're going to get it back. You can do rental mode or default mode. I'm not sure what the difference is between default and rental mode, but I keep it on own mode. And then right here, wear and tear, systems realism. So if you abuse it, you're going to break it. Engine realism. If you abuse it, you're going to break it. And individualization. So nothing is, it's not just a copy paste. You know, that's one of my big gripes. And I don't know if this is still true with the Dash 7, but from what I could tell on the Dash 7 that's floating around, it looks like the engines are just mirrored images of each other. Everything is identical. You don't get that with this airplane. Try to match it up as close as you can, like you do in the real airplane. And it's within plus or minus a few percents, but individualization, a big deal here. And then, of course, the status page. Again, this is why I think this airplane is ahead of the 414, because I just did this before we started. I said, let me do an inspection on my airplane, and I've got already some yellow wear on the cylinders and spark plugs. We're going to talk how do you minimize the degradation of the spark plugs here. You have, look at all the other systems you have: batteries, brakes, gear, magnetos, alternators, fuel pumps, aux pump, vacuum, oil supply. All these major systems in a twin piston aircraft, they are correctly simulated and they will correctly wear depending on how you use or abuse them. That to me is worth its weight in gold. The 414, albeit a phenomenal airplane, it's a ton of fun to fly, it's got a great sound pack, but I almost feel like I'm comparing the TBM to the PC-12, where the PC-12, great sound pack, good flight model, some questionable stuff there like the ground to flight mode. But because there is really nothing under the skin of that PC-12, you use and abuse it, I can't get behind. Like, if no one's going to keep me in check while I'm flight simming, then I'm not going to stay in check. I'm just going to firewall the throttles. I don't care if everything's warmed up before I go. I don't, it just, there's no harm, so why even worry about doing things correctly? And when you have less things to manage than you do like in an Airbus or a 737, you need depth of systems elsewhere to keep you busy, keep you entertained with the airplane. That's kind of my outlook on it. So it's basically those reasons, starting basically from this configuration all the way to the status tab. That is why I prefer the 414 over the 310. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think the 414 is a good bird. We'll actually probably fly that next. We'll keep upsizing. We started in the Aero, now the 310. Maybe the next prop will be the 414. So I do like the 414, but in my opinion, if I had to pick one, I'm picking the Cessna 310. All right. Let's get back at it here. We do have not a long flight, but we do want to get going. So that looks good. Everything, we're loaded up. We got our passengers on board, and I'm going to hide that gentleman right there. So I'm just going to come over here to the configuration, and you could see the people in the back. So yeah, you can load them up in the back there. But I'm going to hide avatars just because I don't want to, when I'm making my turn to base and everything, his head kind of gets in the way. So we're going to hide the avatars, but we are loaded up. Since we're loaded up, let's close up the door. So let's go ahead and close the front passenger. Let's close them all up, the lockers. That is all good. Come back outside here. You can hear the nice clicking sound. Sounds just like it. Everything's been pulled off, and we are ready to go. So, McAllen, thank you for the 14 months of support. He says 40K subscriber tour when? Oof. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Now, I know it's a little bit dark in here, but we're going to juice it up here with the lights. Don't worry about that. Before we do that, though, let's go over and let's tune. Well, we're not going to be able to tune, but we can at least start to go over a little bit of our route of flight, because when you start operating twin pistons, start flying GA, VFR, the more you can do with the battery switch off, the better. So let me have a sip of my little cappuccino here. I skipped the cafe con leche. I went straight to a cappuccino, so give me a second. All right. Let's go over our route of flight. Let's go over our flight plan. Let's do a little weather brief, because once you fire up the battery, you got to start, everything's got to start flowing. Batteries on, pumps on, prime it, start up, and then we're going to get out of here. So let's do everything we can on the ground first, just like we would do in real life. So here we are at Flagstaff, Arizona. We're sitting over here on the ramp. I think we're over here close to Alpha 7. No scenery available for Flagstaff, unfortunately, but we'll figure it out. The winds are 060 at 15 gust 27, so we're going to take off of 03. We'll back taxi here, and we'll take Alpha to Alpha 9, and we'll blast off towards the northeast. With that done, pretty simple briefing there. We'll go through the run-up once everything's started up. Let's take a look at the actual route of flight today. This one should be absolutely juicy. It's a very scenic flight in real life, and we should have the timing just about right so we can see the canyon and everything. So here we are at Flagstaff. We're going to depart. We'll go VFR. What I'll probably do is I'm going to make right traffic, and then we're going to circle back around. So is it Humphreys Peak? Yeah, Humphreys Peak is right here. You could kind of go left and get all spicy with it, but we're going to make a right traffic, right downwind, and then we're going to, if we're high enough there, we can kind of cross midfield, and then we're going to continue northwest bound towards the Grand Canyon VOR. We're not going to track an airway on this one. We're just going to go direct to the Grand Canyon VOR on 111.65. And this flight, I should make a little side note, this flight is a little bit more chart-oriented than our Piper Aero flight when we had no HSI, just flying headings and just looking at the references outside. We're going to be a little bit more restrictive because this flight requires it here as we go up towards Grand Canyon. So after we hit the Grand Canyon VOR, we are now going to be in what's called the Grand Canyon special use airspace here. So Grand Canyon, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend go see it at some point because it's quite the sight. You can't just fly willy-nilly over the canyon. There are certain VFR corridors that you are allotted to fly through. And of course, you'd have to be in contact with the Albuquerque Center when you do this, but we're not going to worry about that. Here you go. You can see we've got some different they're sectioned off here. No flights below 14.5. We're kind of going to ignore that today. I mean, we don't have the performance to get up above 14.5. We're going to go probably at maybe 12.5. But you would have to be in proper corridors for altitudes if you were to fly this on, say, Pilot Edge or whatnot. But today, we're going to take a Victor Airway off of the Grand Canyon VOR, and we're going to go right over the juiciest parts on the 015. We'll take that outbound all the way across the canyon, and then we're going to exit the special use airspace out near Marble Canyon, which you can actually see the color change when you do this in real life. And then that's going to bring us up to Page Municipal. Page Municipal, I've got some history here. Someone mentioned something about a rental car at the FBO at Page. Yeah, sorry. Been up there a couple times. From Page, we'll overfly that. We'll go over the marina and over Lake Powell, which is a beautiful lake. And then we're going to kind of go VFR up until we reach the Caber intersection, and this will be identified by the Bryce Canyon radial 105 outbound, and also basically before we hit Canaan Peak. You're going to start to see here as we fly towards the Bryce Canyon, the terrain is really going to start to escalate, so pretty much we'll be on a heading outside of Page. We're going to have to make a left turn before we get up close to these peaks, and then down towards Bryce Canyon, and we'll shoot visual approach down there. Now, somebody mentioned something about owning Ruby's Inn, which is pretty cool. So anyway, that'll be our route of flight. So we know we got a couple of VORs to tune in. We're going to need Flagstaff, and then we're going to need Grand Canyon, and then we should be good to go from there. So that is your route briefing. You've been briefed. I've been briefed. Wrong side sim in the house. Good to see you, man. Dropping a like to expedite the IEs. Setting up my stream that's going to kick my butt thanks to you. Hey, going to be a fun challenge. Hey, wrong side. It'll be a fun one, man. I'll be able to, I don't think I'll be able to watch it live, but I'll probably get the replay. I want to see you hand fly all the way to your destination with no auto thrust. That'll be spicy. All right. Why are the Cessnas don't paint the prop levers blue? That is a great question, and I don't have a good answer for you. So we'll go idle forward cutoff. I think it was to make it look less like a toy. No, really, I believe I was told that before they used blue to identify propeller, it was just everything was black, mixtures were red. So the first things to change colors on the throttle quadrant, because I think if you go back to like the oldest props, everything was just black levers. And then I think the fuel levers became red. And then I think they realized that the propeller levers should probably be differentiated from the throttle levers, so they then made them blue. And I think the 310s were designed before that really was a thing. That's what I was told. Take it with a grain of salt, because I really don't know if that's the actual answer or not. So, but that's a good question. DC3 was white? Nice. There you go. So who knows? If someone does know in chat, or you do know on a replay, please post a comment, because I'd be curious to know if I've been lied to all these years. So, all right, here we go. Let's start to fire it up. So we're going to go ahead and get the battery switch on. I'm going to get my alternators on. I'm going to get the flaps up. I don't know why they spawn in the down position. Maybe for boarding. We're going to go ahead and get those flaps up. So flaps are coming up. The magnetos should be off for right now. Let's go ahead and turn on our avionics master switch. With our avionics master switch on, I'm going to do a quick tuning of the VORs before we get things going. So we need Flagstaff Pullman, which is 113.85. I'm going to go ahead and throw you in there. Boom. Looks like our HSI already picked that up. And then we also said we needed to tune Grand Canyon, which is 1165, I believe. I should remember that. 1165. And then we'll put 1165 right here in number 2. Boom. Boom. Throw that in there. And are we getting anything on nav 2? Nav 2, nothing yet, Bueller. Okay, so we just got nav 1. That's fine. That is set up. 122.8 transponder. We're going to squawk a VFR for this flight, so we'll squawk 1200. That is set. Our cruise flight today, I'm going to hit the magic barrel ref key. Like I said initially, I don't know if we're going to try 12.5. We'll see if we can get up there or not. You know what? Let's go ahead and stop at 10.5 initially. Let's stop at 10.5, which sounds like a lot, but now we're getting into field elevation and density altitude, which is going to be our next big topic of conversation for our engine run-up. So with that already tuned on like that, let's come over here and just make sure we have everything in the normal position. That's off, defroster off, everything is off there, good. We can make everything extra juicy. I think they spawn full bright now, right? Yes, they do, or at least that's the last position I had them on. So that's as bright as the panel is going to get until the sun comes up. All right, with our nav radios set, we'll turn our avionics master switch off. We'll turn our nav light on. I have these all bound to my honeycomb, by the way. That's why you see me flipping them. We'll get our anti-collision light on. And if we look outside, we've got our beacon. Oh, it's barely going. There it is. There's our beacon running. And do we have a taxi light on? We do. Why do we have a taxi light on? That's off. What's going on with that? Why do we have... retract those landing lights. Listen to that. We're retracting the landing lights. There we go. Pretty cool. Pretty cool little detail. So get those retracted. Get those sucked up inside. They're expensive. All right. AJ Funari, thanks for the $5 super chat, my man. He says it'd be nice if we had a real-world pilot who did small airport work, make training videos on the upcoming VATSIM CTAF radio changes, #FreeV1. Are there really VATSIM CTAF radio changes coming? That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, VATSIM is dead to me. So thanks for the $5 super chat, man. I do appreciate the support. All right, let's go ahead and start this puppy up. I'll get the cam online. So you can see here I've got my 310 levers from Etsy. I love these. These are the first ones I bought. So we've got idle, forward, and cutoff down here. What we need to do is prime up the engine. So what we're going to do, kind of a two-flow, make sure our fuel selectors are on. I believe I left them on. They stay on. Yes, they are. Okay, good. Fuel selectors are on. Make sure you check those. It should stay in the position that you last left it if you have it in owner mode. But make sure if you can't start your engines, you check down here. Make sure your fuel pumps are on, or fuel tanks are on, rather. All right, let's go ahead. These have been in a low position. Dang it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I want you guys to keep your eye over here at the fuel flow gauge. We'll talk about those gauges in the run-up, but just keep an eye over there. I'm going to put the fuel pumps on. I'm going to move my mixtures full rich. I'm going to run my throttles up. You see the gauge is running up. All right, now let's go ahead and bring it back to idle, and let's go ahead and cut those off. Now that we've got sufficient fuel in, we'll go ahead and turn the aux pumps off. I'm going to crack both throttle levers. And in the real airplane, you would start them at idle here, but for sim purposes, we're going to just crack our mixtures a little bit as well. Now I'm going to do a little crossover control here. And let's go ahead and clear prop, starting number 2. Nope. We got to hit the other primer. I might have sucked all the fuel out of it. Make sure you hit the other prime after you did the fuel pump prime. Come on, baby. Oh. Why is it not starting? This airplane's bugged. It's broken. Magnetos. 2 magnetos per engine, left and right. We probably sucked the fuel out of that one. We'll do another quick shot of prime here. Whoa, that's loud. We'll go ahead and turn it on. Make sure magnetos are on. We talked about that at the Aerostream. Now we should be able to start them up. All right, there's a nice quick start with it. Let's go ahead and bring that mixture right back to about 50%. After it started, man, see, my view keeps going up. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm going to set our right engine at 1,000 RPM.
I got you 5x5.
1,000 RPM, and bringing that mixture back about half, especially up here at 7,000 foot field elevation, because the air is much thinner already. You're basically, if you think you're cruising at 7,000 feet, how lean would the mixtures be? Well, if you're running full rich up here on the ground at idle at 7,000, you're going to gunk up those spark plugs really quick. So let's go ahead and do the left engine, quick shot of prime, actual prime, not the fuel pump prime. And we'll match throttle position now. So if you know number 2 is already at 1,000 RPM, match the left one. And let's go ahead and start. Come on, baby. Nothing. Let's give it a little bit more throttle. Let's give it one more shot of prime. Now let's try it. There she goes. Run it up. Nice and stable. Run that mixture right back down. Oh, and the yoke is vibrating nicely. Now we'll go ahead and bring them both down to 1,000 RPM. The fuel lever clicks. Yeah, Napalm Fortitude. I love it. I'm going to turn these sounds up a little bit because the sounds are so good. All right, and we got a little window open here. All right, we got 2 good starts. Let's get our avionics master switch on now. Always make sure you start your engines in the 310 with the avionics master off. You never want to start them with them on. You could get a surge of electrical power, or if you have to really juice up the engine, like depending on the situation, you may have to, if you have a flooded start, for instance, you'll have to really crack the throttle up, and in some cases almost full throttle, and when that thing lights off, whoo, buddy, it'll light off. And if you have your avionics master on, there is a high risk of potential for a voltage spike, and you could fry your fancy schmancy magenta line panel. Even if you don't have a magenta line panel, you could fry some of the still overly priced radio stacks. So make sure you have your avionics off for start. What do you use for 2 cameras? Are they wired to your PC or wire? They're USB, wrong side. They're a Logi, something Logi's, just says Logi on them. Probably Logitech's. I got them off Amazon, just cheap. Nothing hardcore like you, man. All right, 122.8, 10,500 on the altitude. We're going to taxi over to the run-up area. Before we do that, we'll dissect our engine panel, but before we dissect it at the run-up area, I always want to take a quick look over here. Cylinder head temperatures. Now this is pretty cool because I ran this airplane just before the stream, and my engine temps are still semi-warm. If you start and it's really cold outside, you want to make sure you're in the green before takeoff. We're still not even in the green yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to close the cowl flaps, and it's kind of backwards in the 310, and it's really hard to see because of the lighting, but these cowl flaps you pull to close. So we pulled them out and they're closed. If you push them in, they're open. What are cowl flaps, you may ask? Let's come down here underneath. And I'm gonna have to slow the camera down. You should be able to see. Oh, that's right. We're not in the Chieftain. Aren't they in the cowling on this one? Maybe they're in the cowling. I forget now. Am I completely wrong here? Where the heck are the cowl flaps? I think they're internal on this one, aren't they? They got to be internal. Yeah, the Chieftain, you could see them. Those were bigger engines. These are the old. This is the smaller ones. They're internal, I believe. They got to be. Yeah, they're internal. That would make sense because I don't remember ever really going under there and looking at them. No, I know where they are, but I was trying to see where the actual cowl flap positions were. Like on some of them, they're external. For some reason, I thought I used to be able to see where the cowl flaps were on the 310. Maybe I'm cross-referencing. I don't know. Maybe it's too much Jet A I've been sniffing. There. I opened one cat cow. So I've got one open and one closed because I wanted to see the difference. So this one should be open. No, this one should be open. And it's the same. Yeah, no difference. I thought maybe it was like right here, but no, that's not it. Okay, disregard. Basically, the cowl flaps are how you warm or cool the engine. And since we need to warm them up right now, since their engines are cool, we're going to close both of them while we taxi out. So let's go ahead and release the brakes. Flagstaff traffic and flight 202. We're going to taxi down to runway 06 runway, or run up pad, or 03 run up pad, wherever that runway is going northeastbound. We're going to taxi down there. Flagstaff traffic. All right. Let's get our taxi light on. They're probably in here.
And Flagstaff traffic number 426, can't keep up forward taxi runway 03 via Alpha 9 Flagstaff.
You already saw it, those two vents? Well, no, the two vents in front of the engine are the intake. Gosh, listen to the sound though as you turn the wind. It's just, the sound set on this thing is awesome. Basic things we're checking for here as you taxi out. Make sure the ball is opposite. Make sure you've got roll. Make sure your DG is working and synced up. Make sure your ball swing freely in the turn. Oh, almost cut him out. Did you see that? As we talked about, because we're running a little bit too rich up here. I'm gonna pull him back a tad. We're going to talk about that here on the run-up pad. I'm going to have to look up what engine model is on this. I swear you could see the cowlings on this one. Look at that windsock. It is gusty. So if thrust set's here, technically the proper taxi would be aileron forward and diving away from the wind. So we'd have the left wing down and the right aileron would be up. That would be the proper taxi configuration. And then as it's directly on our tail, we'll kind of straighten our ailerons. And we'll pull in right next to this 414. Wow, I can hear him spooling up and doing a run up. That's cool. I'm going to set the brakes. I'm going to do that and squeeze the brakes, and then I have a little brake binding over here. It should be in the forward portion of the engine. Okay, so it should be up in there. I must be having having all kinds of memory issues. When you forget over time, or like when you cross-reference information, it starts to all blend together. I'm having that right now. All right, very important run-up situation here for the Cessna 310. Now, we're going to check the same things. We're going to do the same things we did in the Aero with our one engine, when we did our our propeller checks. We're going to basically cycle the propeller, make sure it goes to the feather. We don't want to get it all the way to feather because it's still a piston engine. It's not a free spinning turbine. So you don't want to, you could damage the engine if you hold it in feather too long, but we want to cycle the engine, or we want to cycle the hub, cycle all the oil in the hub, and then we also want to make sure our cylinder heads are up in the green. We want to check for a proper suction and vacuum pressure for our vacuum-powered instruments. And then what we're going to do a little bit differently today is we're actually going to lean for max performance takeoff on this one. So, kind of like in the Aero, let's go ahead and spin them up. Let's go ahead and bring it up to about 1,800 RPM. So we got manifold pressure up here. We're looking for RPM down here. I got the window open. I'll close it for takeoff. So nice and smooth. All right, there's 1,800 RPM. I can see our cylinders are in the green and rapidly rising. So now I'm going to just go ahead and open the cowl flaps so we don't overheat the engines. All right, we're up and running. We got nice warm engines. Let's do our feather checks. We know what to do before. We've done that before, so let's go ahead and do that. There's one. You'll see the drop in oil pressure on both engines. You're looking for that, which would make sense because we're using oil to move the propellers in the hub. So as you cycle the propeller, you want to make sure that oil is dropping. Let's do one more. About 1,500, run it back up. While we have it sitting here at 1,800 RPM, we can see our suction is in the green. That is good. You would check your static air source, your alternate air. Oh, that's engine air. don't know what static air source is on this one. It used to be right here for ours. Anyway, we can check that. All right. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go full rich. See the RPM drop? Okay, now let's run the power all the way up. Gonna lean, 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 lean. And now let's bring it down. All right, so we've leaned the engines for peak EGT, which is just about max power takeoff for the current conditions of an OAT of about 5 to 10 degrees. It's actually pretty cold still. Yeah, about 7 degrees, really, OAT, about 7 degrees. And we've leaned them for peak, and that'll give us max power on takeoff. So now our mixtures are set. We don't even need to mess with the mixtures. Now, what we did on the Aero when we were at almost, sea level or 1,000 feet, we went full rich for takeoff. We're not going to do that for this takeoff. We have already leaned for takeoff. Because of the wind condition, we are going to do a flaps up takeoff. I would actually be a proponent of doing a flaps 15 takeoff here at Flagstaff, but because the winds are gusting up to like almost 20, we're just going to keep the flaps up. We'll have plenty of runway. The density altitude is low enough. What I mean by density altitude, I mean a combination of the outside air temperature and the field elevation. The higher those are together, the worse the performance is going to be on the airplane. With the 7 degree OAT, it's not terrible, but you're still at 7,000 feet, so it's going to be a wee bit sluggish. Looks like we've got a fleet of 402s and Cessnas taxiing out. That's so cool. Cylinder temp high? Nope. It's in the green. So this is a difference between, a lot of GA, when you're unfamiliar with GA, like, oh, it's getting towards the top. Nope, if it's in the green, you're going. So, I mean, now if you own the airplane and you think that, okay, it's normally one line before red, and now it's just almost touching the red, then you might have an issue, but that's a pretty normal condition right there. We just ran up the engines at full power, and we're sitting on the ground, so that's a pretty normal spot for those cylinder head temps to be. All right, we've got the brakes released. As we taxi out, let's make sure our trim is set. I don't like how slow the trim moves, Team Vodka. I might have to adjust that. I'm going to use my Bravo here. I'm going to set it right there, about that forward quarter. If you split that takeoff strip into 4 pieces, I like to put that trim just on the forward line of a quarter. All right, still we're taxiing with a tailwind, so our yoke should be forward and away from us like that. So dive away from the wind if it's behind you. So if it was coming from the right, I would go this direction. Now, if it's directly behind you, you would just keep the elevator forward. All right, we'll go ahead and stop here. What about the magneto check? Oh yeah, hey, that's a great one. Let's do that right now. I totally forgot. Yeah, I got distracted with the engine being so loud. So let's do a quick mag check. We don't have to go all the way up to 1800 for that. Let's just run it up to about 1400 RPM. We'll do a quick mag check. So don't do them both at the same time. So you want to do left on the right engine and left on the left engine. So here we go. They both drop together, coming back on. See the needle movement? Now we're going to do the right magneto on the right engine and the left magneto on the left engine. Bring them back on. So they're opposite. If you shut off both of these, if you shut off both mags for the right engine, well, what's going to happen? Your engine's going to shut off. So make sure you are doing opposite. So you do one from the left, one from the right. You'll see those drop accordingly. That means our mags are properly grounded and working as intended. But yeah, we missed that in the run-up. Also double check your fuel, which we have. Main, and we have hardly any in the aux tanks. That's normal. We got low left and right. That's normal because we only have, I think, like 10 pounds in there. All right, 10.5 is set. I'll set our runway heading. That gentleman just took off, so let's spin this around. What was it, 03?
Flag for traffic. No, that's not somebody about taking off runway 3 right traffic.
Flagstaff traffic and flight 202 going to line up and wait runway 03. Alright, so he's rolling. We're going to line up and wait on 03. As we cross the hold short line, we'll get the rest of our lights on. Everything is on, and we will extend our landing lights. $310 is a pretty quiet bird, unlike the King Air inside. It's mildly quiet. I think the King Air is quieter, though, because it's pressurized. Did he rotate, or did he go off the runway? He's having a heck of a time rotating. He's still on the runway. You alright? Alright, so real quick, I'm going to check the Grand Canyon. Roughly should be the 31320 course. So roughly, remember we're VFR, it's going to be approximately the 320 outbound. So let's spin this puppy around to 320 like so. And once he's clear of the runway, we'll blast off. He's clear. He just taxied clear. Flagstaff traffic and flight 202 departing runway 03. Be a right downwind departure, northwest bound Flagstaff traffic. Flagstaff traffic. Say that 10 times fast. All right, squawk on altitude 1200. 10.5 is set. Radio call is made. Our engines are set. Our engines are warm. Our power is set. Our mixture's leaned. Here we go. Now you could set power. Why does my view keep doing this? I want this view here. Control 0. Save it. As you bring the power up, want to be nice and slow with the manifold pressure. My views are all sorts of jacked up. All right, get those props up. Props are coming up to the governor. Now, nice, slow, smooth application. And we're rolling. Airspeed's alive. I'm going to get a little crosswind correction in there preemptively. She's squirrely today. 20 knot gusts coming out of here. All right, there is 90 knots. Nice, easy rotation, positive rate. Get that gear up. And right now, we need to start pitching for blue line, which is about 103 knots right there. All right, let's go ahead and retract the landing lights. That'll help us clean up here as well. Landing lights retracted. See what I mean, though? You don't really need any flaps with that kind of wind condition. All right, about 400 feet, we'll start a right turn. Pitching for blue line here. Gavin, yeah, we'll do a VMC demo. I was planning on it. I was planning on doing a VMC demo. Why does my view keep going higher and higher? I don't understand what's going on in the views today. All right, there's 1,000 feet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to creep the props back off the red line. I'm going to bring them right back to about 2,500. Yeah, you can definitely see the airplane getting yawed around. I do not understand this view system today. There you go. Put it parallel to that wingtip. That's downwind. Now we're about 1,500 feet, so we can go ahead and cross midfield downwind right over the top. Flagstaff traffic and flight 202. We're going to be departing to the northwest. Midfield downwind departure going over the top at 8,000. Flagstaff traffic. Correction, 9,000. All right, so there's 9,000 feet. We're more than 1,500, or we're about 2,000 above field. So we're going to go midfield downwind right over the top of Flagstaff, and we're going to proceed outbound. And now I'm going to pitch down. I'm going to trim it out for about 110 knots. Get a little bit more speed on it now that we're nice and got some altitude below us. And now there's our midfield downwind departure going to the northwest. so sweet. Man, I love flying props. All right, let's go ahead and turn the sim down so we can think. All right, so we can think now. We got our sounds down. We basically have, I wish, that's one thing I wish they could add is a headset filter. Little headset filter. Now, as the sun rises, we should get a little bit brighter in the panel here. All right, we can do kind of our climb cruise checks. See, look, how is this happening? You guys saw me save that view on the ground when I was looking at the panel. Now, my view is up above the panel again. What is going on? All right, so as we're climbing out, do a little climb cruise check here. So manifold, that's all she's got, Captain. We're already at 10,000 feet. And we're supposed to go to 10.5. We're going to keep going. Let's go 11.5. Thrust set, don't get mad at me. We're going to go 11.5 eastbound. I got 11,500 set here. We're going to keep climbing up. Oil pressures, you're looking for everything in the green here. And some people get freaked out about the 310, like, oh, these gauges are so hard to read because they're just confusing. I got 3 gauges on one gauge, and then I have 3 of them. Look, all you're looking for is symmetry. Your eyes should see both of these gauges. I know it's kind of hard to see because one's in the shadow, but the needles should all be approximately in the same position, right? So that's at about 11:30, that's at like 3:15, that's at 3:15, and that's right about at 8:30, right? They're all pretty much identical position. They don't have to be identical numerical. Just make sure they're all relatively the same. The big ones you're looking for are oil and your cylinder head temps. You can see they're starting to get a little bit warm as we continue to climb. So let's help it out by reducing our climb rate a little bit. Let's go ahead and pitch for maybe about 100, and right at the edge of that white line, be 140 knots. We'll slow our climb. It's definitely bumpy, Team Vodka. We also know that we wanted to join that radial, right? So let's go ahead and set up about a 360 heading. We won't fly into Humphreys Peak. There's Humphreys Peak right there. We're going to take about a 360 heading to join this radial outbound. As we continue to climb an altitude, we'll do another crack of the mixture lean. Something is wrong with the views, man. Something with my views is jacked up. 12.5 is the max for no pressurization, Brian. I know I'm just getting back to the chat, guys. Sorry, it's a little bit hectic getting out of there. 12.5, I believe, is it 30 minutes? Or you can go 12.5 for as long as you want, and then is it 13.5 is 30 minutes? I'll just tell you this from experience, 12.5 is about as high as I'm comfortable flying for any period of time, VFR, without supplemental oxygen. It's legal, but you want to make sure you are you're cognizant of what's actually happening to your body at those altitudes for any period of time. All right, here comes 11,500 feet. I'm going to go ahead and level it off. It is a bumpy flight today. Brian, you crashed into the trees? What was your weight, man? Were you overweight? All right, let's go ahead and level it out here. I'm going to use my trim. Now, the way my trims are set up with this Bruner profile is my yoke trim is very slow. So I can help dial it in. And the Bravo trim moves the wheel much faster. All right, here comes that CDI on that approximate course that we want. We'll turn it outbound, about 320 heading. Oh, yeah, she's trimmed out. Look at that. Look, Ma, no hands. Once you get her trimmed, she flies like a dream. 310 is very stable feeling. very, very stable on the controls when you get her up into cruise. All right, let's go ahead and throw in 1165 on the active. There we go. It flipped around. I'm going to center the needle, and we're just going to track that puppy. Go. Well, we don't really want to go over that mountain. We'll do a little heading adjustment here in a minute. All right, that's about all she's got. So because I'm going to show you guys some more here on the as we get into cruise, I'm going to turn the autopilot on. So let's go ahead and select autopilot. Can't even see. Heading and altitude. All right, she's all locked in. Let's go to full screen cam. Whoop. I just gotta forget to mute that after it finishes playing. Let's be good VFR pilots here and not go right over the top of that mountain. So let's take a heading of about 340. Nothing is restricting us to that radial. That's just showing us where we need to go, but nothing is making us follow that. We're not on a published airway on an IFR flight plan, so we're just going to go VFR around the highest terrain. It's always a good idea to not fly right over the highest terrain. All right, we're in cruise. Let me make sure before we do this. Look at this. What is going on with the views in this airplane? Something has to be changed. Like wherever I leave my camera, that's like the new view reset. I don't know what's going on. All right, let's make sure everything else is taxis, nav, strobe, anti-collision. All right, everything is set the way it should be set. All right, back to our instrument panel. Set the view looking at the rudder pedals and it will drift. I can't see what it said there, Lightspeed, because I got that stupid heart at the end of your message. But let's see what happens after that message pops up. Here at 12,000 or 11,500, all she's got is 20 inches of manifold. So my throttles are full forward. I don't have any more. Now, we could bring our props back to a fast cruise. So we're going to go ahead and bring our propellers back about 2,400 RPM. Make sure you sync them up. What I mean by syncing them up is if you have your prop lever slightly out of phase, like this, you hear that? Wom, 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 wom. So let's go ahead and bring them in. I can't explain to you what the feeling is in real life when you get them perfectly synced, but it's great. It should sound like one engine when they're perfectly synced. That's pretty much just perfect right there. You can see here our cylinder head temps are at the top end of the green band, but they've cooled off a little bit, but they're in the green, so we're good. Now we're going to lean for our cruise. So there's a couple different ways you can set your cruise power and cruise mixture setting. You're obviously going to be in conjunction with the POH. I don't have one next to me, but an easy cheat mode is to use your fuel flow gauge over here. I know we've got fancy gauges over here which are more accurate. We're not going to get into those because this is the old school way of doing it, and it's just, it works, and I think it's just easier. So the other one's definitely more accurate though. So as I bring the mixtures back, see how my power is actually, the percent of cruise power is actually going up? That's because as I bring mixture off the airplane, my engines are running more efficient, thus creating more power. So it's kind of backwards, but it's correct behavior. So watch, if I add mixture, look at my percent of cruise power is going down because I'm not running it as efficient as it should be. Okay, so how we're going to set the proper mixture for cruise? You can set a fuel flow number, which is the outer band here, so you could use a fuel flow, or you could just lean for peak EGT. So I'm going to watch my EGT gauges here. Let's go ahead and as I bring the mixtures back, look at the EGT gauges. Look at them climbing. They're getting hotter. They're getting hotter because we're getting rid of the fuel. They're getting hotter. They're getting hotter. They're getting hotter. At some point, they're going to peak, and now, they're peaked. If I bring it back anymore, oh, they're starting to go down. That means you are now running a little bit too lean, and if you go too far, the engines are actually going to cut off. So if my peak EGT is right here in the middle, I'm going to increase that mixture again. I'm going to cool them off about 75 to 100 right there. So that's about 50 actually. Let's go ahead and increase it a little bit more because each line is 25 degrees, as you can see here. So that is close to about 75 degrees cool of peak EGT. And now you can see, because we're running at full manifold at this altitude, we are running wide open, 20 inches, we are still burning quite a lot of gas. I could really save fuel by reducing power, but ain't nobody got time to reduce power. All right, we've passed that mountain. Let's go ahead and come back to the left, and let's go ahead and, instead of going back to this course line, look, we're VFR. Let's make it easy. Let's just center the needle. All right, that's the needle. That's what I want to track to, and I'm going to just set my heading. I'm going to match it up, and then we'll see what kind of wind correction we need because I've got a centered needle. I'm going to center my heading bug. I'm going to fly it, and depending on which way the CDI deviates, I'll be able to determine what kind of wind correction I'm going to need. Looks like we've leaned out and we've cruised out here at 11.5, and we're doing 160 knots indicated, and all is well in the world. Look at that lovely wing shot right there. Look at that one right there. Gotta love it. I have some pictures. I should get some pictures up. But yeah, I'll see if I can find some as we cruise out here. And that's all. That's all you have it right there. We'll periodically check back on our cylinder head temps. If they start to get about 300, that's getting towards the middle, towards the bottom half of the green, then we'll go ahead and close the cowl flaps. Depending on the engine that you have, so I guess I'm obviously confused with my PA-31 flying, which I have significant more time in the PA-31. But this is starting to come back to me now. There's really no intermittent setting for the cowl flaps. I don't think, can I like half it? You can like crack it like that, you know, but for the most part, you pull them and close them, and there's no real fine-tuning of where the cowl flaps need to be. In the PA-31 with the big Lycoming engines, you actually adjust cowl flaps mechanically, and you adjust them in incremental positions regularly. The 310, now that I'm coming back to it, I think we pretty much just ran them open for the most part. I might have cracked them or start to close them if it's cold outside, but especially Arizona in the summer, that would make sense. We would just have them open almost all the time, because when it's 115 degrees outside, trust me, you don't need to close your cowl flaps. The PP bottle, that's exactly what that is. We got a PP bottle down there. So, all right, now we can get back to the chat. I apologize. That was kind of a wild, it was kind of a wild setup there, getting everything going. But now I can get back to the chat and get some of your questions answered if you have them. You can see here we're starting to get blown a little bit to the, that's interesting. I'm actually getting blowing left of course. So we've got a wind from the right. I'll go ahead and set up a little bit of a crosswind correction. That means we'll have a little bit of a headwind as we get up and start to go northeast bound. Let's come back to the back here. A little backseat view. That's pretty cool. The bottle rolls on the floor, yeah. Anyone notice the graphics a little more grainy since the update, even on Ultra? A little bit. Ailerons into the wind. But I think it's still pretty good. The 310 is on. You want to fly through the canyon down to Boulder? I'm going to stay on my flight plan. I'm going to go right over the canyon. Arlen, good to see you, man. Great to catch a stream on my day off during the week. Hope all is well. Great to see some GA. Oh, yeah, man. GA. Little fun on the GA. Arlen, it did. Your badge did change. You got the 3 stripes now. You're a professional pilot. Love this little bird. So we're going to put some time on it. One sticker is under the digital gauge on the left side. Oh, are you talking about like the... Wait, do they have that? Okay, so I thought that was that an FSX, or was that this airplane in Microsoft where they had like hidden stickers? Hidden stickers on the dash with 1-click spots. One sticker is under the digital gauge on the left side of the plane. Where's the click spot? Oh, right here. There it is. Scruffy Mongoose Simulations. Yeah, so you can hunt for hidden click spots. You see that? So, gotta love it. Gives you something to do while you're hunting and cruise. Now, I don't have a POH with me, but it'd be interesting to see what we would get here, what kind of POH values you'd get from this bird at this altitude and power setting. It's pretty accurate. All right, we're 12 miles from the VOR. Let's go ahead and bring up our Navigraph real quick, because after we hit the Grand Canyon VOR, we're going to go northeast, up and above, and kind of through the canyon. But if I was going to do this in real life, below 14.5, we would need to actually take the 062 to Zuni Alpha waypoint and then proceed on this VFR corridor here. This one, because it's a little bit higher terrain, they want you at a little higher altitude, and because of, I forget what, there was a reason, I don't remember. There was a reason for each one of these being a different altitude. But the ones that aren't purple, you could fly low level. So this is a straight up VFR corridor. This is the Dragon corridor. This is the Zuni Point corridor. So we would actually have to break outbound, go northeast. I've actually done this corridor before in a PA-44. And this is still going to be fun, but this is going to be a little bit more juicy by taking that 015 outbound. So we've got that set up. We'll stay at 11. We might have to go up to 12.5 just because. What kind of terrain are we looking at? 9,000, 9.3. I'll tell you what, once we get to the northeast side and the terrain gets a little bit lower, we'll then get into the VMC demo over here towards Cliff as we get up towards Page. That ought to be, oh, I didn't know I could rotate that. Oh, what the heck? That's cool. I didn't know you could rotate that. This is where we will start our discussion of VMC demo and a couple other things about the 310 that are pretty important to at least have a basic understanding on, especially if you're going to fly this airplane regularly. While I'm looking at it, let's get 117.6 tuned in here, 117.6. We'll throw it in both of them. Well, actually, I don't need it on both of them. I'm going to put 1176 on nav2 active, and then I'm going to put the last VOR in the standby nav2. That way I don't have to look it up again. 1112.8. 1112.8. So a huge tip I can give you for running no GPS is you want to use all of the available frequencies that you have, because it's only going to help aid you in your situational awareness and keep you a little bit more ahead of the airplane. So for instance, we're tracking right now to 1165. That's my active. I don't want to change it. The immediate frequency after that is 117.6, which I'm also going to put in nav2 because I want to see when I can start getting DME on my nav2. I can toggle my DME. I could also see my OBS2 down here. Once I go, the flags go away, it says, hey, I'm already picking up that radio without having to toggle between 1 and 2. And then I also don't want to let the standby go to waste. If you have a third frequency, which this one is going to be our last one, Bryce Canyon at 12.8, I'm putting that in the standby nav2. That way I have all my frequencies set. So if my, I can't believe I'm going to say this, if my iPad were to die and I don't have any more charts, at least I have all the frequencies already set. So back in my day, you had to have paper charts. So you didn't have to worry about your iPad dying and not having the frequencies. But you could always ask ATC in real life too. You're like, hey, you got the frequency for that VOR? All right, look, we're 1.3. We're going right over the top of the VOR now. It's going to be a cone of confusion. We're aware of that. We can set up our 015 outbound, though. So I'm going to go ahead and set 015. And we're going to go ahead and just start a nice, gentle turn towards the right as we get ready to go over the Grand Canyon VOR and Grand Canyon Airport. There she is. So, hey, look, navigating without looking at a magenta line or a CDI, you could have literally just flown a heading. There's that. I think we went around that mountain over there. Is that the one we went around? And then look, fly a heading until you hit Grand Canyon Airport. Now let's go 015. Oh yeah, look at that. So now this is where it's fun for me, because in real life, like I said, we weren't going above the, we couldn't go in that 14.5 corridor. So I would have to make a parallel right here and kind of go out this way. But because we're going to bend the rules a little bit, we get to go right over the canyon, so we get to be nefarious. 015 is set, and I'm going to set a intercept heading of about 040. Let's do a quick check here. Torques, or not torques, temps. Oh, look, our cylinder head temps are still above 300. I'm going to leave them right where they are. They're totally fine. I did see a message or something, though, from... What was that? Let's check what was going on over there. Oh, a departure exam. Okay, don't have to worry about that. It always freaks me out when I hear those things. Helo tours? Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? That might have been it, Guru. So what's interesting is my flight school, when I was instructing, the other part of the flight school had a charter and sightseeing tour. They would take caravans up to the Grand Canyon. So I always thought, oh man, the caravan, I want to fly the caravans. You know, because all you're flying is 172s, 152s, and Seminoles and Arrows, and you're like, oh, the PT-6 Caravan, that's a real airplane. Maybe I'll graduate to doing Grand Canyon tours, which is pretty fun, actually. It'd be a pretty cool job to have. I know actually quite a few of the guys that did the canyon tours were retired military folks, and they're just kind of doing it to pass time in retirement. All right, this is a cool shot. This is, anybody know 310 pilot? Former 310 pilot? I think he used to have a GoPro set up like right here. Okay, that is a cool view. Anybody who says it's not a cool view, that's pretty sweet right there. You have, I'll wave to you once you hit Grand Canyon. Nice, man. We just went over the top. 310 pilot, yep. He sold 771 Bravo Charlie. I know, man. What happens if you are VFR and the weather gets bad and you like... Why does... I can't... Is there any way to get rid of that little heart on the chat box? And you like fog or any IMC... And you're in fog or any IMC? BombTech, if you are not certified for IFR flight and you go inadvertent to IMC, then you can declare an emergency. That is part of the... that is part of your prerogative. You would be allowed to do that. And it would probably be a good idea, especially if you're unfamiliar. Now, you're probably going to hear something about it because as I assume a private pilot that would enter that situation with no instrument rating, you're probably going to hear about it from the feds. You're going to have to explain yourself. Now, accidents happen, things happen. And it's much better to explain yourself to the Fed after confessing on frequency, declaring an emergency, and getting help, as opposed to trying to figure it out on your own because you're scared of confessing and you fly yourself into the side of a mountain and you never hear from anybody again. So in that case, it's best to fess up, ask for help. In the immediate, though, the first thing you want to do is climb. If you're around terrain and you enter IMC, you need to start climbing. That's the first thing you need to do. Now, you also have to know what altitude you're at. You can't just climb up to 18,000 feet and pass out. So every situation is very situational. Yeah, the heart on chat has to go, Donald. I know, man. Do you know who has the 310? Juan F. Brown from the Blanc. Does Juan Brown have a 310? Does he really? I thought he had like a Satabra or something. Cypher Wolf, good to see you, man. Sipco, you can fly above the canyon, but only in specified VFR corridors, as I previously mentioned. So we're on an IFR corridor right now, technically. The VFR corridor would be a little bit further to the left, and there would be another one further to the right. But look at that. That is pretty cool. Screenshot. Yo, if you haven't already, y'all hit the like button for me. Let's see how many, same thing. Every time we do a piston stream, everybody's got to smash the like button because that means we can do more piston streams. Smash the like button for GA Fun in the Sun. This looks like a Cessna 310 poster right here. I didn't know we had a 310. That's pretty cool. Situation is very situational. Absolutely, Delta Tango. I used to say situations are situational. That's really it. Yeah, situations are situational. And they are. It's when you start talking aviation, and that's probably some of my inner instructor coming out, is students and YouTube chat will have great questions. And the thing is, I can answer your question at face value, but just because the way I answered your question, that may not apply to a very similar or same situation or similar or same question in a different situation. So when you start talking things aviation, you have to really make sure you are kind of leaving the door open to other options and possibilities because nothing is really ever the same. Nothing is really identical. Those are tip tanks, Cypher Wolf. I'd enjoy seeing you in the 414. Yep, we're going to go 414 next. If y'all smash the like button, we'll go 414 next. We are getting bumped around. All right, let me have a little water, and then we're going to talk about these propellers a little bit more in depth now, because as we start flying high performance twins, you have to fully understand, at least at the basic level, especially if you're going to get the 310. If you're just a simmer right now and you're looking at this stream like, man, I'm going to pick up the 310 and I'm going to fly it with failures on because I'm going to follow V1's recommendation, then you're going to need to pay attention to this next part, because if you fly with failures on, which you should, in the 310, treat the airplane with respect, you're not going to have any failures, but you got to know how to manage these engines when situations go awry. So let's get into that right now. AFO, welcome back to Private Pilot, my man. Glad to have you on board. Clapanzi, this is the 310 from Milviz, Blackbird, and it's phenomenal. I love it. It's probably my favorite piston twin in the sim. It really is. Actually, it is not probably. It is my favorite piston twin. Okay, let's kind of hit the blanket statements and the generalizations first here with the twin engine. Going back to our run-up, you saw me do the, I don't want to say feather check, but we cycled the propeller, right? We didn't really do a feather check because we're not really feathering the propeller in the run-up area. We are cycling the propeller to move cold oil out of the hub and bring warm oil into the hub. That way, should an engine fail in a critical phase of flight, such as takeoff, we have a less likelihood of some malfunction when the engine is trying to get into the feathered position. So I'm even going to back up a step further. What is feather? You keep talking about feathers. There's no feathers on this airplane. Let me bring up the cam real quick. So if this is a propeller blade and it rotates, okay, so it rotates to create thrust, if said propeller stops in flight, if it's going forward like this, coming at you in the camera, that's basically a barn door on the edge of your wing out there. The amount of drag that a flat-faced propeller will cause in the event of an engine failure is extremely significant, and in some cases significant enough to actually overpower the airplane with drag to a point that would render it unflyable. So if our propeller is traditionally flat-faced, maybe it's got a little bit of AOA to it because a propeller is nothing more than an airfoil, just an airfoil going vertically in a circle, right? It's creating its own angle of attack and creating thrust. That's what a propeller does. It literally creates, a propeller creates lift rearward. That's what a propeller does. It creates lift rearward. That's what thrust is. So it may be a little bit tilted in or may be flat-faced, depending on where your prop setting is. Now, as I mentioned before, if the propeller stops moving, you are now creating a ton of drag out there. If you stick your hand out the car window like this, it's going to what? It's going to blow back. But if you put your hand like this, now it's much more streamlined. Now you can cut the air and you can do the wavy thing out the car window like this. All right? So this is a much better position to have your propeller blade if the propeller is not producing any thrust. So when I say we need to feather the engine, all we are doing is we are mechanically moving the propeller's position from a flat or high RPM to almost 0 RPM, feathered into the wind. This will dramatically reduce drag and allow you to have much more control of the airplane. Fujitsu has 6 graphs. Oh my gosh, Donald. Yeah, don't get me started. So, since we know a propeller, now we know basically what's going to happen with the propeller when it stops flying, yada yada. Let's take a quick look at our airspeed indicator. There's a couple of markings on here we really need to take into consideration. We got a blue marking and a red marking. We didn't have the blue marking or the red marking on the Piper Arrow, right? Did we have a blue? Yeah, we had the blue, but we didn't have the red. We didn't have the red marking. The blue line is your VYSE, So this is your best climb single engine. So if my engines are running and my engine fails and I feather it, I need to be going at a speed no less than blue line, because that's going to allow me to still climb the airplane on one engine and be safe. Now, as you get below this blue line, the airplane is still going to be controllable, even with your feather propeller, but it's going to start to get pretty squirrely. And in some cases, let's say your engine fails on takeoff, and you're at, maybe you just rotated at 90 knots. Worst case scenario now, engine failure, your blue line is in front of you. You need to actually push the nose down to get to your blue line, your VYSE, your single engine climb speed. Okay, so this blue line, single engine climb speed, I can still control the airplane in this range, but this is my target. All right, this is my target climb out speed initially until I'm above 1,000 feet approximately. And then if I lose an engine and I have it feathered and I want to do a climb to continue to climb up to traffic pattern altitude, I want to climb at blue line. So if that's what blue line is, let's hit the red line real quick. Red line is VMCA. VMCA is your minimum controllable airspeed. If you remember when I said if the engine fails, now I got to go back into the memory bank. I know it's feathered or not, right? VMCA takes into the worst considerations, an unfeathered propeller. So engine fails, right, Gustavo? I think I got this. Man, we're going way back in the memory bank here. So I'm climbing out. My engines are running. Vroom, 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 vroom. Seized up. My engine failed. Prop is unfeathered, high RPM, flat pitch. If my airspeed gets below VMCA, remember when I said that sometimes the drag can be so unbearable that it would render the airplane unflyable? That's the speed at which that is going to happen. So if you're single engine and you slow below red line, you're going to induce, possibly, very likely, you're going to induce the VMC roll. So the airplane is going to enter a roll, spin, stall combination thereof, essentially, in layman's terms. And it's going to drive you into the ground unless you can get the airspeed back up above red line. So red line, it's red for a reason. You don't want to be anywhere near the red line. VMC is with a windmilling propeller unfeathered, right, Gavin? That would make sense. So VMC, this is your worst case scenario. Now, if your propeller is feathered, you still have a little bit of margin, hopefully, but as someone who has witnessed a real-life VMC roll on a King Air 200, you do not want to be anywhere near that, all right? I was in the Stanfield stack in Casa Grande, and a King Air came in and landed at Casa Grande. They VMC rolled it on a go-around. They did a go-around because there was opposite direction traffic, and the propeller, or they had an engine failure in the go-around, and the VMC rolled right above the runway, crashed. I think it killed everybody, if I'm not mistaken. No bueno, all right? It happens quick, and that's with an auto feather. So, for layman's terms and simming purposes, everything operating normally, it's pitched for blue line. If something happens and you're like, oh my God, what happened? Just remember V1 told you to stay above the red line. Aim for the blue line if you can. If not, maintain altitude. And whatever you do, don't slow below that red line until you get on the ground. That is a very simple explanation of what's going to happen. Now, what's really cool is we're going to kind of show you this situation happen here in real time. Let me double check our position real quick. We want to make sure PGA is 17.6. So I'm going to go ahead and dial in 17.6. I'm going to put that active. It's tuned in. We are 20 miles to go. Cool. I'm going to center the needle up because I'm IFR or VFR. I don't have to follow a specific thing or specific radial. Kind of got out of our canyon there. Altitude's a little bit better now. We're a little bit higher above the ground. So now we're going to get into a VMC demo. This is going to be spicy. Blue line can change depending on density altitude. Absolutely, AFO. Yeah, now you're getting ahead of me. I'm just trying to remember. I'm trying to just do this in very simple flight simming terms or terms, whereas someone who is not a PPL, who's not a real pilot, who wants to pick up the 310 and they want to fly with failures on, you have to have a very basic, crude understanding of what happens with these high-performance engines if you are to lose one. If the performance is great, you get to fly at higher altitude, you get to climb faster, you get to cruise faster, but with greater performance comes greater responsibility. All right. It does not it's consistent based on IAS, not true airspeed. Aha, yes, no, you're right. Claphansi is right, because it is based off an indicated airspeed, not a true airspeed. But I believe it's calculated at max gross, right? The placarded speeds are in the worst case scenario. Unfeathered windmilling propeller at max gross weight. I believe that's what the speeds are. All right, so let's go ahead and run through a simple VMC demo here. I'm going to disengage the autopilot. Autopilot's off. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the cam for this. So we're actually going to shut one down in flight. We're going to go ahead and bring number 1 back. All right, as number 1 comes back, I got to make sure I add rudder, and I'm going to kill it with the mixture. Look at my airspeed. I got to pitch down. I'm going to pitch down to maintain blue line here because I'm too high. I got to get some right rudder in there. I'm going to use some rudder trim. I'm too high right now for this windmilling propeller. I need to get rid of some of drag. What am I going to do with the drag? I got to feather. So identify, verify, feather. But I don't know if it's bound. It is bound. So now I'm going to actually move it into the feathered position. Once I feather it, theoretically, she should feather on me here. There she goes. She's spinning down. Now, can you see it out there? It's completely feathered. Now, when you're doing this, we want to be good. We want to be nice to our good engine. So I'm going to increase the mixture a little bit. I'm going to increase the propeller RPM on number 2. I don't have any more manifold pressure on number 2, but I want to be good to number 2. We'll increase that up there. And you can see, gosh, my views, sorry guys, I don't know why my views are doing this. So I can't even level at this weight. If I try to level the airplane, let's see if we can maintain level flight here. We can't. I still have to keep coming down. So we're too heavy at this altitude to maintain level flight on one engine. So this was very similar to the Piper Seminole. We used to always say, what's the point of having 2 engines? Just get you to the crash site faster, because you still lack the performance in most situations where the dead or the operating engine is not enough to get you out of a hairy situation. Okay, it's just going to get you to the crash site faster. That's all it's going to do. It may keep you in flight for a little bit, but until you are at a lower altitude, depending on your gross weight, and these are all published values in the POH, you would actually know at this weight this is my maximum altitude here, single engine. But we're starting to get close to that terrain. We've got one engine operating. We've got one completely feathered. Look at that. Look at that nice feathered prop out there. Less drag, but I still don't have enough performance. Now, should we VMC roll it? Should we VMC roll it? Let's see if we can VMC roll it. I'm going to pretend I'm not paying attention. There's a stall warning horn. This could end our stream. There's VMC. She's rolled it. Oh, that's not good. We need to recover. Golly. Get number 1 back in. That was very aggressive. I'm going to get my mags on. I'm going to see if I can unfeather. That's it. That's all she's got. Dang, I shouldn't have done that. I thought we'd be able to get I thought we could get the other one relit. Hey, it's all in fun and games, though. We'll kill it there. Yeah, so I wasn't really wanting to crash it there. I was really hoping we could get number one out of the feather and get her started up, but we couldn't get it started. But let that be an example to you of the dangers of running high-performance airplanes and not understanding your VMC, not understanding your VYSE, etc. Keep the aircraft state persistent. I don't know what I think. Let's see. Hold on. I don't think we can run it because we have to turn off the batteries. I think she's probably got some issues. Let's inspect it. Ready for repairs, I would say so. Well, technically, because there's really no crash damage, we were good to our engine that whole flight. So there's really not much we got to do here. I wish I had replay mode on. It's a great lesson. Better have seen that. Just imagine it, not worry enough about it. Exactly, Hairlock. Now, I've just had an idea. Let me see if I can... I'm going to start the flight in flight from right about there. We should be good to go. What are your Bravo bindings? Get the props in the feather. I have to click it, Nathan. So you can't. I can't feather it. You have to actually click it, and I don't know what the binding would be to get it to feather. I know, Mick. I should have done replay mode there. But now the point is made that you have to respect those airspeeds, and that was a really nasty VMC roll because we were full power on the operating engine, and we were at high altitude and high gross weight. And that thing snapped over quick, and you could see where in real life you might even G out and you wouldn't even be conscious to make a recovery. So VMC has killed hundreds, if not thousands, of pilots. It's probably on the thousands of pilots by now. At my flight school, there was a loss of 4, 1 instructor, and 3 students. I'm sorry, it was a loss of 3, 1 instructor and 2 students. 1 was observing. And they were doing VMC demos. So the VMC demo is similar to what we were doing, except we're not going to go all the way into that VMC, obviously for obvious reasons. But during the VMC demo, they actually VMC rolled the aircraft, and they couldn't recover. It was too low altitude, and the airplane ended up crashing into the ground, killed everybody. So let that be a lesson. There's no better lesson than seeing me crash live on stream there. Sort of intentionally. I really didn't want to crash. I tried to do a recovery. But it's a real thing, and you got to be very conscious of it. Let's go ahead and see if we can start from right here. Set as departure. Fly. Airborne at 5,000. Tomorrow, Blanco Lirio channel, we have V1 simulations crashing a 310 while attempting to demonstrate VMCA. Yes. Almost recovered. We almost had it. I thought we'd be able to at least level off there. We were at like, 5,000 feet? It still was really struggling. And I had full right rudder in there, and it still wanted to roll over. And we ended up just hitting the ground before we could get number 1 spinning. Juan Brown hates the twin spin requirement. Yeah, it's awful. It's very, very dangerous. But you have to understand how dangerous it is in order to respect it. Because if you don't respect it, that's when it's going to kill you. Should I come back to identify your wreckage? Yeah, make a 360, Team Vodka. But you understand what I'm saying now about the second engine. Don't have all this false sense of comfort thinking, oh, I have 2 engines. If I lose one, I'm fine. Not necessarily. All right, hold on. Let's go ahead and ready to fly. Hold on. All right, we're back. Let's get rid of you. Let's get the power in. We were going eastbound, right? We got to get all our avionics. We got to get all that on. I got to get our... Hey, we're coming back at it. Page was 117.6. Hey, we're right over Page. Ah, there's Page. All right. That's why you try that on a sim. Exactly, Donald. Exactly. All right, let me get the airplane trimmed out. Let me get her Back where she needs to be here. Jeez. I'm way out of trim. There we go. Gosh, I'm over here fighting the yoke. Force feedback. Gotta love it. Gotta get her in trim. Alright, power's up. Props are up. Mixture's coming back a little bit. I don't know exactly where we had her leaned out, but that should be good right about there. And we'll take up to, we'll go to 10,500. We need a new Gen C337. Ooh, that would be nice. How'd the VMC roll feel with force feedback? Scary. Guru, scary, man. That VMC roll was a nasty one because we kind of flipped on our back. So if that was real life, you probably would have blacked out on that. I've done VMC rolls in this airplane before. What we'll have to do is we'll have to actually do a proper VMC roll, like at a much lighter gross weight and lower altitude, so you can actually see the recovery. But I need to trim it out here. Alright, let's go ahead and select auto. No. Autopilot heading, 200 feet per minute up. And altitude is armed. Let me get everything back where she was. Alright. Let me rejuice my panel lights here. Alright. We are 0.4 from page. After page, we're going to go on a Victor Airway 327. So what we can do is I'm actually just going to dial that in right now. That's 325, 327. And then after that, we're going to pick up Bryce Canyon and land at Bryce 12.8. So we're almost back. Apologize. I did not fully intend to crash there. There's complete honesty. I thought we would be able to recover. But after that VMC roll, I knew it was going to be hard. All right. AMPs work fast. Exactly. Meanwhile, a DA-42 just flew straight and level on engine from Akasi to Caber. Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's how it should be. You should be flying. Oh, our gear are down. What's up with that? That'll help us climb a little better. There we go. Now look at that speed. All right, gear's coming up. Let's go ahead and make the left turn just about over the Page Airport. Had a fun time down there in Page, flying a Citation. Took it in there one night. Oh, there's the dam. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. I think most simmers would have ended up straight in the ground. No time to recover. Probably. Especially after that recovery, you heard me like the secondary stall. We were so like, I mean, to get the wind flying again or to get the wing flying again, pretty challenging. And then just descending at that descent rate. I wish we had a replay on for that. All right, there's our to from flip. I'm going to turn left to heading 327. I'm concussed, so I forgot about the landing gear. We'll come all the way around. Only just come on stream, but I've taken a look back at that VMC. That was a scary thing in the sim. Never mind IRL. Yes. Now, I mean, that's a good point to bring up is now you can understand. Imagine that's with what, a 350, 400 horsepower. I think it's like 350 horse. Maybe it's just 350, 400. I don't know which model we have on this one. Imagine an 1100 shaft horsepower PT6. So now you kind of understand what the auto feather is for, because on as the power goes up, that VMC gets more and more violent. So enter the auto feather regime. Basically, you lose an engine with the auto feather armed. What's it do? It automatically feathers the propeller to give you the best possible chance of avoiding VMC altogether. On the beach, if the auto feather is in op, you're not going. At least that was on the 135. You could not go with an auto feather in op. So you can kind of see as horsepower goes up, so do the stakes. So does the risk. But if you have, a failed PT6 and another PT6, you now have the performance to much more comfortably fly on one engine. So case in point, when we used to do VMC demo in a piston, we would never actually, well, I take it back. We used to actually shut it down and feather the propeller. And we wouldn't even do, and the VMC demo was the instructor only. You would shut it down and you would fully feather the propeller, and then you would do a windmill start. Now, for the student, you'd shut it down, windmill the propeller, feather the propeller, and then the student would just fly straight and level and then do an air start. They wouldn't do any of the VMC. Now, they could follow the instructor on the controls during the VMC demo, and basically all the demo is you're kind of showing that airplane how it starts to run away from you. It's kind of hard to do on the sim on YouTube here, like what I'm showing you, but basically once you start feeling the airplane start to slip away from you, that's pretty much the conclusion of the demo. You're done. You recover and you speed up. You never take it to the actual VMC breaking point, obviously, for obvious reasons, as you saw. But now on the 99s, when I was training on the Beach 99, we shut them down. We would do windmill starts. We would do starter assisted starts, and the 99 flew very, very nice on one engine. Same deal with the King Air. But when you were doing it in a Piper Seminole, it was pucker factor the whole time because it's like, eesh. And you really had to be careful of where you were. I almost did mine exclusively over water because it was like the lowest terrain was the lake. But you have to be very, very cognizant of where and when you're doing VMC demos. All right, let's go ahead and bring the power back, about 2400. So single engine better than two? Well, Brian, it's not exactly wrong because you have less to worry about. So you have less to worry about. When you lose an engine in a single engine, you're either going to restart that puppy or you're going to just glide it down to the ground. You lose an engine in a twin, if you don't have the power to save you, all it's doing is getting you to the crash site faster. That's all that second engine's going to do. Let's go back to our 310 pilot cam. I really like 310 pilot cam. That's cool. Right about, not quite there. Nope. Oh, there it is. There's 310 pilot cam. Yeah, you cannot VMC in a single engine because you only have one engine airplane. I thought you meant VMC with single engine. Yeah, you can't do a VMC demo in a single engine airplane because you don't have the you don't have the propeller on the other side producing torque effects and all the other associated effects with running one engine. Should do a VMC roll in the Airfoil Labs. Felix, we were talking about this yesterday in the Discord. I might fire up the old X-plane to get the to do a test flight on Airfoil Labs. Maybe. Love the 310. My dad had a couple over the years. Awesome, Russ. There have been some recent Seminole VMC spin accidents with passengers in the back. Tragic. Gavin, yeah, exactly. So the one that I was referencing, same deal. So it was actually really sad. So the instructor, the Czech airman had a student that was struggling with understanding single engine characteristics in the twin. So after the lesson, the Czech airman said, you need to go sit in the back seat of X student's flight. They're going to go do VMC demos. That's the plane that crashed. So that Czech airman, he did my checks as I was going through the training as well, and I knew him very well. But it was something that definitely haunted him for a very long, probably still does to this day, honestly. because he felt that he was like, I mean, what are you going to do? He didn't know the plane was going to crash, but he said, you need to go sit in the back of that airplane and watch them do it. And PA-44, 3 people, VMC demo, entered VMC, unrecoverable. So, yeah, it's a dangerous maneuver. It's understandable why MEL is a separate and license over and above a simple PPL. Absolutely, Dale. Absolutely. The multi-engine license is it's a whole different ball game. You have a lot more to think about. You have a lot more to react to. There is a lot more stuff going on when you fire up that second engine. It's not just, ooh, 2 engines, more power, and I look cool. No, there is a lot more responsibility. Hey V1, I'm currently, from Miami, currently inside the last 747 ever, 863 Golf Tango. Man, that's cool, Hornet driver. Who had 863 Golf Tango? Is that, that's got to be Atlas, right? That's pretty neat. Yeah, AFCG and a spin in a twin, no bueno. And the Cessna 310, I mean, we're in it. You know what? I didn't even check our CG. I didn't check our CG. I bet you our CG made that VMC demo worse. Or I just shouldn't even say. I bet that VMC roll almost unrecoverable because I totally forgot, thank God we're flying a sim, that we have the airplane completely loaded. We got a passenger in the back, we got bags, and we got 2 people up front and fuel. So that completely slipped my mind. I was like, oh, we're going to do, because I've done VMC demo in this airplane. I used to do VMC in FSX in the Cessna 310 and use it as a training tool. So, because I believe milviz, the 310 and FSX was the first twin to properly simulate a VMC roll. I think that was the claim to fame when it first dropped on FSX. And I picked it up the day it dropped, and I flew it all over the place. I actually flew it for, like I was flying profiles, single engine profiles in it all the time when I was getting ready to move on and go do other things in my career. I was like, I got to fly an airplane that's going to get me prepped, and I was flying the milviz Cessna 310. So if a milviz dev ever gets a hold of this stream or ever hears this, I honestly want to thank you because your airplane definitely played part in my success as a real-world pilot. There's no doubt about it. I used the 310 a lot on FSX. Hey, Nanook Oblivion, take it easy, man. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. I actually got my commercial this Monday. Hey, Gavin, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. What did you do it in? A Diamond? Twin Star? All right, we are getting closer to Bryce Canyon. Everything's getting more marbly and bright up here. Let's see if we can pick it up. We've got 112.8. It is... should be off our left here. That spinny knob thing. OBS 2. Let's see if we can... we've got a 2 flag. Yep, we're actually picking it up. It's going to be about the 285. Let's do it, 285. So let's go ahead and run the heading left. I'm going to flip nav 1 to 112.8. I'm going to make the nav course be centered up. Right about there. We'll go to heading mode. Oh, I need to get back on Iveo. I disconnected from Iveo after the crash. All right, we're 34 miles out. We can make a radio call. Bryce Canyon traffic, Amflight 202. We're at 10,500. 30 miles to the east of Bryce Canyon. Setting up for a visual approach. We'll overfly the field to pick up the wind information. Bryce Canyon traffic. So I don't know if anybody's still online or flying up to BCE. Let me see if I can get the airports up here, see if I have a METAR. Bryce Canyon, single runway ops. I did pick up Orbix. I haven't been there since Orbix, so I'm curious to see. Same runway layout as Flagstaff. It's 3 and 2-1. And the current weather at Bryce, winds 300 at 6. So that's pretty mild. 300 at 6 knots. We'll land on 0-3 then, just a little bit of a crosswind. All right. What am I doing over here? I'm going to lean these out. Canadian, you're officially a chief pilot? Hey, man, congratulations, Mr. Chief. Very cool stuff, dude. Very cool. And you're a chieftain chief, right? A chieftain chief. Charts say 2-1 for calm winds. All right, Team Vodka. I guess since Vatsim is doing these CTAF procedures, we should go ahead and teach some CTAF procedures. So, if you're flying into an airport, untowered, Bryce Canyon, always important to check the 10.9 page here in length. Make sure everything looks good. Let's look at the reference. No reference approaches. Why does it say 2-1? Where does it say 2-1 in calm winds? That would be on the airport facility directory, wouldn't it? Oh, the information page. It would be. I thought it would be on the 10.9. I don't see that note, Team Vodka. I think Team Vodka is lying to us. CTAF pilot control lighting 122.8, but the winds aren't calm. But 2-1 would be a crosswind too, so we could land on 2-1. We'll make Team Vodka happy. We'll land on 2-1. That way we can just exit the ramp there. So we'll plan for a 2-1 arrival. The field elevation is 7,554 feet. So 1,000 above that will be 8,500 for our traffic pattern altitude. What we'll do is we'll actually enter properly. We'll enter midfield downwind and make left traffic. So the proper way to enter an uncontrolled field flying GA is to enter 45 degrees to the downwind. So in this case, if we're landing runway 21, the left traffic pattern to 21 would be to enter 45 and make left traffic. Now, it should say, actually it would show on the chart which way traffic was. It would say right here. I thought it would, maybe not. Bryce Canyon, 7590, the longest runway, 7,400 feet, 122.8. L is a left traffic, right? Or no, that's pilot controlled lighting. Where my VFR pilot's at. I thought it would tell you left traffic. I think that's pilot controlled lighting on 122.8. Maybe that is left traffic. Are you a real pilot? No, I'm just a real fake YouTube pilot. Come on, VFR guys. What does the L mean? Is that pilot controlled lighting or is that left traffic? I don't remember. The star is pilot controlled lighting and the L is for left traffic. Perfect. All right, so that means we have left traffic patterns. It will say RP for right pattern. There you go. Thank you, Gavin. Oh, the pilot controlled lighting is the star up here. Okay. Partial lighting. See, look. This is the reason why I'm banned from VATSIM. I don't remember my VFR charts. Okay. So, regardless, we're coming in the proper direction here. So we're going to be flying up from the southeast. We're going to enter 45 to the downwind. So we're going to come here at 45 degrees. We're going to go here, here, and here, and we'll make left traffic for runway 21. Now, if, let's just say there was a right traffic to 21, that was a standard pattern, and there was other people in the traffic pattern, the appropriate procedure is to not cut them off and go head-to-head and make left traffic. It would be to overfly the field and then make right traffic. So your radio call would be, hey, we're going to overfly Bryce Canyon. We're going to enter midfield downwind right traffic for runway 21. But since we're not landing right traffic, we're going to enter 45 to the downwind, left traffic, runway 21, Bryce Canyon traffic. That's how your radio call is going to be. And you would just flip that if you were landing runway 3. You would make a 45 to the downwind here. What you would do if you're landing 3 and you're coming from the south, you don't really want to make a 90 or 110 degree turn there. So I would kind of have to cheat out a little bit as I got closer and then come in pretty much 90 and then enter the pattern. So you kind of have to, but you want to do that maneuvering before getting within the airport vicinity, because you don't want to like enter and then do this really sharp turn unless you're in like an extra 300 or something and trying to show off. But give yourself space, fly out here and then come in at a 90 and then go on land on runway 3. Y'all don't use VFR sectionals in the bus, huh? No, I haven't looked at a VFR sectional since the last time we looked at a VFR sectional on stream. How far are we, though? We must be getting close. I don't know what's up with the views, man. This is all whack. All right, we're 15 miles out. Matter of fact, the airport should be over here somewhere. We're entering on the 290, because the VOR is actually 8 miles from. It should be over here somewhere. We got to come to the right. I think it's over here. I'm going to start slowing down. Bro, Calgary, good to see you. Do you have a PPL as well, or did you go? Yes, you have to get a PPL first. Is it the same in U.S. and Europe here? If you just went straight commercial through Flight Academy, you don't get to fly small aircrafts. No, Rail Calgary. So I got my private pilot, got my instrument rating, I got my commercial multi, I got my single engine add-on, and then I got my I got my instructor instrument, or actually I got my CFI, and then I got my CFII, and then multi, and then I got my ATP when I went to the airlines. Are we getting ice on the canopy here? Did we fly through a little ice cloud? It would appear so. So let's go ahead and turn on the pitot heats to make sure. Windshield. Get the heat on the windshield heat there. Get a little bit of ice off. Alright, now I don't have an iPad, so I don't know how to find the airport. There it is. It's over here. So we're going to come to the right. Payne, yeah, CFII. So Certified Flight Instructor Instrument. So that's what double I is. Bryce Canyon traffic, Amflight 202. We're about 10 miles to the southeast. We're setting up for a left pattern, runway 21. We're going to enter 45 to the downwind for runway 21, Bryce Canyon traffic. All right, so the runway's over there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the autopilot off because I want to fly. Autopilot's coming off. I'm going to trim it down. I'm going to set my CDI to approximately 210. And if I change the freak out, now I've got a flagged, and I know I've got a runway reference there. So 45 degrees. Now we didn't talk about stage cooling and all that, but we're going to bring it back 2 inches. We'll let it cool down. Actually, these aren't turbocharged. These are just naturally aspirated, so there is no stage cooling. It's Chieftain coming at me. We said 8,500 was pattern entry, so we're a little bit high. Bryce Canyon traffic, Amflight 202. We're entering a left downwind, runway 21, Bryce Canyon traffic. All right, since I'm a little bit high here, about 2,000, about 1,000 feet high, we're at 10,000. I'm going to enter a little bit wider pattern, so I have a longer base, which will help me lose altitude. So let's get the cams online. I'm going to get flight recorder up. Oh man, it's right in front of my face. I can't see my sim. Where'd my sim go? There we go. All right, recording is ready. Let's hit a magic barrel ref key here. Nope. All right, so 8,500. As we descend a little bit, we're going to go about 2 clicks every 1,000 feet, or about a ½ inch. Don't want to get too slow. Keep it right there, about 110 knots. Now, for landing the 310, we've talked so much. I mean, we need to do like a full-blown ground school to really cover this airplane. We haven't even scratched the surface on this stream. We definitely scratched the surface of the paint, though, when we... But there's just so much more to this airplane. All right, we're coming up on 9,000 feet. So that'll be another 500 feet. We're just going to keep trickling down. It was 7.5, so 8.5 is 1,000. All right, just a quick and dirty landing technique on the 310 here. You want to maintain blue line or about 100 knots until you're getting close to the threshold. And then in the real airplane, you'd pull that power out and she would kind of carry on down into the ground. In the sim, she drops pretty darn quick like a box truck. So you got to kind of keep that power in. Rough power setting, 20 inches of manifold pressure. Props 2400, 2500 RPM. We'll get our landing lights on. We'll get our taxi lights on. Oh, that's because of gear. You're not going to come down till the gear comes on. Let's extend our landing lights. Let's get recording on. Oh, it's not recording. Oh my gosh, this view is going to kill me here. Hold on, I have to restart Flight Recorder too, of course. I don't know why it's not recording. Flight Recorder's bugged. Now we're overshot. Alright, we don't need Flight Recorder. Now we're all jacked up. Alright, props are coming up. We're up at high altitude. I'm going to run low pressure on the pumps. We're not going to go full rich, but we're going up right about there. Yeah, I don't know why this view is just completely out of whack today. Alright, so there we are. Blue line. Man, it trims out so nice. 100 knots, about 21, 22 inches right now. We're going to fly her fast. I'm going to go approach flaps on this one. As we get in a little bit close, see a little bit of balloon. That's fine. I'm going to run it down. Oh, that I don't get the last notch of flaps in there till we're about 500 feet or less. So right about now. Gear down would be help too. We almost just gear upped it. Keeping the speed up. Props full forward. Hold it off. Check gear. We didn't make any radio calls. Yeah, the whole end of this stream just went out the window. But that's okay. We had fun up until we crashed, right? Flaps up. Okay, gear up. Bring the power back up to about 1,000 RPM. And, I mean, look, an unstable approach is going to lead to an unstable landing. We're going to beat this guy. Is that Team Vodka? Is that Team Vodka? We got to cut him off. We're going to cut him off to the ramp. All right. Take the second half of the stream and throw it out. The first half of the stream, watch it. It's good. We'll probably have to fly this airplane again. There's so much to this that we've got to talk about. We need to do like a 3-hour flight. It's crazy how many pilots forget the gear and do some unscheduled runway resurfacing. We're going to run her all the way down. Brakes are really sensitive. Canadian, yeah, we spun it, man. We definitely spun it. Ooh, I see a King Air I'm going to go park next to. All right, let's go ahead and take the low pressure fuel pumps off. We don't need those. Listen to the sounds. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bryce Canyon. I guess we should go park over there with all our buddies. We'll go park with all of our buddies over here. What are y'all doing? Being fancy, turning around in the grass? What is this? Hello. Hello, governors. Nice Baron. 404. I think those are all 404s, aren't they? They don't have any winglets. taxiway light's about 3 feet tall. Close enough. Bring it up. Ooh, hear that engine almost cut out on me there. All right, so to shut her on down, just like when we started up, we want to make sure our avionics master is off. We'll go ahead and turn the avionics off. We'll go ahead and get our windshield heat. Our pitot heats can come off. We can kill the taxi light. We don't need that anymore. Let's go ahead and set the parking brake. Brakes are set. Fuel pumps are off. Run it up to about 1200 and kill it. There you go. Bring that to idle. As soon as that's at idle, we'll kill all of our mags. Then we can go ahead and kill the master and alternator. We'll leave the cowl flaps open, and let's get the hell out of here. There's a click spot somewhere on this door. Open up. Oh, what? Where's the click spot? How do you get out of here? Oh, there, it wasn't all the way open. Ah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bryce Canyon. 3 Bravo Tango. Let's see our airplane here. Passenger comfort level has been red. Makes sense. Let's go back. Let's unhide the avatar so we can see everybody. Status of the airplane. Let's do an inspection. All right. So everything's fine. We actually helped our cylinders out by burning them off a little bit, so they're back in the green. Our nose gear is a little bit meh. Is a little bit in the yellow. Our left gear, we probably rubbed up that tire a little bit hard. Right engine spark plugs. I was probably running it a little bit more rich on the right side than needed. But everything's still pretty much in the green. We don't need to do any repairs here. Let's pull up this. Let's go ahead and open up our doors. We'll put the engine covers on. Actually, we'll leave the engine covers and intake covers off. Wheel chocks, we'll put the control lock in. And everybody can get on out. And that's it. There's your flight to Bryce Canyon. Absolutely so much fun. Unfortunately, we don't have a replay. So, Donald, let it. King Air, my best friend. We need to do some King Airs. Hey, what's going on with Bassmaster, Donald? Any developments? All right. Let's go over here before we say goodbye. Let's take a little look over here. Bryce Canyon. Ooh, we're going to have to take the King Air out of here. We might have to take the King Air out of Bryce Canyon. No, we'll have to take the 414 out. Look at this, baby. Yeah, it was like a King Air stream. No replay equals second leg. Key 6, I would. But I got to work tomorrow, and I got to go home because I got to put together a bunny hutch. So we got a new bunny hutch. Needs to get put together. And my fishing stuff showed up at the house. So yeah, I got to roll. Big Sierra, Key 6, TV Flight, Matt Wright, Richard, Vega, Tyson, Felix. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. Thank you everybody else. Thank you for everyone who flew along on Iveo. Sorry I kind of bailed on you there during that BMC demo. Hold on, is this modeled? Doesn't matter. I'm going to sit right here next to the Swan. All right. See you in chat. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm out of here. See ya.